So welcome back to part 6 of Let's Play Storm of Zehir. Now, I mentioned that there are some quests that I'm not going to do quite yet. As you can see on my map, there's a lumber camp there, and there's the Yuan-Ti Temple. I don't really want to go and visit either of those areas yet. They're fairly hard, actually. Well, the lumber camp itself is another town area, but I don't want to mess with it. Instead, I'm going to finish off some of just the side quests that are in this area. And we're going to start by going down to Rasatan, which we visited earlier, and going to the tavern. Now, you can also rent a room without actually going into the tavern, which is useful. But I'm going to go into the common room anyways. Now, each town in the game pretty much has one of these side quests. Most of them are pretty pointless, but hey, it's better than grinding on random enemies. So he tells us about a singing pendant. Oh, I guess I should mention this. There's a guest book here in the inns that works exactly like the registration thing on the boat that you started. So if you ever want to switch your party members, you can do it here. It also lets you add or remove the cohorts if you choose to carry any along for the ride. I am not, so I'm not going to be using that guest book very much. I may use the cohorts later on for what are called team or party feats. I forget what they're called actually, but they require you to have party members with specific skills. And since I don't have those skills in most of my party members, I can use the cohorts, and specifically train them to be able to pick up those skills. So we're just going to take a nice little long side area and grab some random ore. Since I found that recipe for the composite longbows, I do want to gather up some trade goods from the standpoint of I want some lumber so I can make some mighty longbows. Now, there are also just a lot of just random areas on the map, most of which are extremely small and have very little at them. In this case, it's just a cabin way out here in the middle of nowhere. Whenever you discover one of these random areas, you get 100 XP, and some of them have interesting things, and some of them are just sort of pointless. This one is one that's actually just sort of pointless. There's an item here, I guess, that's you can't get elsewhere, but all it does is cast light, so it's not exactly very important. There's also some traps here, so I'm going to be using my thief skills a little bit to find. Oh, well, I guess I'm not going to be using them very well because Well, that was stupid of me. I think this is also trapped, but I could be wrong. This is one of those situations where you just want a melee weapon. Unlike the original campaign for Neverwinter Nights, you can actually just open things by breaking them open. You don't get broken items that way. At least I haven't seen any. So, and there's this random journal here, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but more or less this guy, the reason this is abandoned is that he saw this guy, Jared, and who was drowned. And this is probably meant as sort of a very, very veiled reference to the actual Icewind Dale games. Because the character Jared was character there. I don't know exactly what the relationship is, but it's there. It's a little shout out. So I'm going to run back to Rasatan and meet you there. So I just ran into a random group of gnolls, and I'm not going to bother showing all the overland map fights because they're all really boring, and more or less you just show up there with enemies opposing you, and gained a level. So one of the things that to be careful is don't try to gain levels out on the world map, because you'll be sitting around with the wrong character selected. Whichever character you have selected ends up as being your leader for the map. So you may end up getting ambushed constantly while you're just trying to gain some levels. So if you're trying to gain levels, always go back into something. All of the towns have a tavern, an inn, and a tavern and a temple. So those are good. And again, my hide skill isn't perfect, so I do have to occasionally fight just random things. And so maybe I'll just fight these lizardmen. And again, these fights are almost exactly like the boar fight. I'm not going to bother showing this. So I'm actually not going to go into town. I'm just going to rest up. So we head off into the wilderness. This is the Singing Caverns that was mentioned before. I want to hit one other side area first before I hit the Singing Caverns. There's another just random cave back here with some fairly random enemies that I want to walk up to. And you need this search skill in order to find these random areas on the map. And you don't need a lot of search skill to do it. This character I have probably overkill because he's trying to detect traps as well. The first merchant in Samargal, not Vidinia, the other guy, has a helmet available which will give you +8 to spot and search and such. So if you don't have somebody with search, you're going to need that helmet in order to find all these random areas. So there's just a bunch of random enemies here. I'm going to take a second to buff up. Okay, let's get going. Now, this cave just has goblins and ogres. And the goblins are mostly a nuisance. The ogres can be kind of dangerous. Like that. Wow, this is not going very well. Yeah, really. So I'll have her try and heal herself. Hopefully she'll survive that. I might actually have to load a save. Yeah, this is not going so well. Now, since Napro has been healed, he's no longer constantly losing health. However, he's quite a bit ways away from being able to just brought back into the fight. So mostly I'm just trying to survive at this point. No, I don't want to heal the ogre. Are you crazy? These medical kits actually end up being a better way to heal in combat than potions, because potions give attacks of opportunity, as do spell casting if you're not if you don't succeed at combat casting. And frankly, druids don't get a lot of the good healing spells, so I don't think sleep can work on ogres, but I'm going to try it anyways because I'm getting pretty desperate here. Nope. I definitely underestimated this area. So we'll see how far my mage and the dinosaur can get on trying to beat these ogres. And this isn't as impossibly lost fight as it looks, because that dinosaur is pretty mean. Now you'll see that Zehir died, which is not good, but if you leave an area while characters are down, um, the essentially anybody who is left will who is unconscious will die. And I'm afraid that's going to just be something I have to live with, because there's no way I'm going to win that fight. Oh, I guess it's only people who have not been stabilized. And since Napro was stabilized, he is going back. But at this point, I have 2 dead characters, and it's a good thing that my map character is not one of the dead characters, because if he were, I would be in a lot of trouble, frankly. And so here we are back at Rastan, and I'm just going to visit the local shrine of Joaquin and request healing, and for 500 you get back everybody, which is cheaper than using coins. So I am going to go back to the tavern, heal up, and well, that didn't go so well.